Listen carefully, because this is one of the most important lessons most men never consciously recognize. The moment someone watches how you react, they're no longer just interacting with you, they are collecting data. Every micro expression, every hesitation, every tone of voice, every blink, every sigh, every twitch, they are noting it, cataloging it, measuring it, mapping the way you respond under pressure, under emotion, under challenge. If she watches you react, she is studying you. And if you don't understand that, you're handing over insight into your boundaries, your frame, your authority, and your position without even knowing it. This isn't paranoia. This is reality. People are always watching. But the ones who truly matter are not just watching, they are strategizing. And understanding human behavior is a skill most men underestimate. Every reaction you give reveals a little more about who you are. Every unmeasured word, every uncalculated gesture, every visible emotion is information. Information that can be used, information that can be leveraged, information that can shift the balance of power. Let me be clear. This isn't about manipulation in every case. Sometimes people are just curious. But when someone repeatedly observes your reactions, especially in situations where your emotional state, decisions, or authority are tested, it is no longer innocent curiosity. It is data gathering. It is study. And in human dynamics, study precedes influence. Observation precedes control. Watching precedes leverage. A man who doesn't see this lives in reaction. He answers questions that haven't been asked. He anticipates expectations that may never exist. He softens his stance to avoid conflict that is not his to avoid. And in doing so, he reveals more than he intends. He teaches without instruction. He explains without being asked. He bends without realizing it. That is how positions are lost slowly, quietly, invisibly. When she watches you react, she is assessing three things above all: your boundaries, your consistency, and your emotional threshold. She's testing whether your frame is fixed or malleable. She's seeing how easily you can be influenced. She's measuring patience versus impulsivity. She's observing whether authority is inherent or conditional. In every subtle response you give: hesitation, defensiveness, aggression, over-explanation is recorded mentally. These observations are later used to decide how far she can push, when she can withdraw, when she can demand, and how to maintain advantage. Strong men understand this instinctively. Weak men do not. Strong men are aware of the gaze, yet remain unshaken. They recognize the observation, but they do not bend to it. Their posture does not waver. Their voice does not falter. Their internal state does not compromise itself to match the observer's curiosity or intent. Weak men, on the other hand, adjust themselves unconsciously. They modulate words, tone, and demeanor to appease or impress. And every adjustment becomes a map of vulnerability. Here's the brutal truth most men don't face: reactions are currency. The more visible and unmeasured your reaction, the more valuable it becomes to those watching. Your anger, your frustration, your anxiety, your insecurity, every one of these is a data point. Every emotional spike tells them where your limits are. Every hesitation tells them where your frame can be bent. Every apology signals which levers to pull. And once they know the levers, they can manipulate outcomes without explicit conflict. You might think this is unfair. You might think, why should I have to control myself just because someone is observing? The answer is simple: because life isn't fair. Because power is not about fairness. Power is about control. And control is about leverage. If someone has knowledge about how you react, they have leverage over your decisions, your attention, your emotions, and your behavior. Your job as a man is to reduce that leverage, not feed it. Notice the pattern. The observer does not need to confront you directly. They do not need to argue. They do not need to threaten. Observation alone is enough. Because human beings are wired to respond. Anticipation, defense, adjustment, these are automatic responses. The stronger the emotional or social pressure, the more automatic the reaction. And that's why being studied is dangerous. The subtle is stronger than the overt. The quiet test often carries more weight than the loud demand. A man who has mastered frame understands that the key is calmness. He observes the observation without attachment. He notices the gaze, the question, the silent test, but he does not react unconsciously. He maintains composure. He does not fill space with defensiveness or explanation. He does not validate by overengagement. He keeps his rhythm, his priorities, and his posture intact. That is unmovable authority. That is power that cannot be leveraged easily. Every reaction you give is a choice. Even when it feels automatic, even when it comes from emotion or instinct, it still communicates. Weak men communicate vulnerability without realizing it. Strong men communicate sovereignty intentionally. They understand that silence, calmness, and measured response are weapons. They know when to speak, when to pause, and when to let others reveal themselves through their own actions. Consider this carefully. When someone studies you, they are exploring patterns. They are looking for triggers. They are measuring your responses across different contexts: stress, conflict, affection, uncertainty. Each reaction is a test, and tests have consequences. If you pass, boundaries are respected. If you fail, expectations are reset. And once the reset occurs, your position shifts subtly. It may not be obvious, but the trajectory has changed. You are no longer fully in control of the environment. You are now part of the experiment. This is where men fail. They believe that engagement, explanation, and reassurance strengthen them. They believe that demonstrating understanding, patience, or concern builds credibility. In reality, overexposure of reaction weakens frame. It invites further scrutiny. It reinforces the observer's data set. It validates their control. The more you react, the more they understand you. The more they understand you, the more they can influence you. The solution is not avoidance. It is not detachment from reality. It is not pretending to be emotionless. The solution is measured awareness. Observe the observation. Track the patterns. Maintain clarity of intent. Preserve internal equilibrium. Let tests occur without surrendering sovereignty. Recognize the gaze without bending to it. Respond with purpose, not impulse. Act with discipline, not defense. That is the mark of a man who understands position, frame, and leverage. Notice how reactions reveal limits. Anger shows what can push you. Anxiety shows what can unsettle you. Hesitation shows what can stall you. Vulnerability shows what can influence you. A strong man does not hide from these. He does not exaggerate them. He does not suppress them unnaturally. He simply cultivates awareness, chooses response, and maintains unshakable presence. That is the difference between a reactive man and a sovereign man. When she watches you, understand her intent. Observation is always purposeful. It may be conscious or subconscious, but it serves a function. It seeks information. It seeks leverage. It seeks to define limits. And once those limits are known, your behavior can be guided. Whether for alignment, manipulation, or test of authority, the effect is the same. A man's position can shift without conflict simply through awareness of how he responds. The man who wins is the man who becomes unreadable without being disengaged. He is steady without being cold. He is present without being reactive. He communicates clearly without being overexposed. He maintains rhythm without being predictable. He offers nothing unnecessary, accepts nothing unwarranted, and reveals only what is aligned with frame. That is sovereignty in practice. That is authority in motion. That is position unassailable. Let me simplify. If someone studies you, do not panic. Do not chase reactions. Do not try to control their perceptions through overengagement. That is weakness. That is reaction. That is surrender of information. Instead, stay grounded. Watch yourself. Control what you can. Respond intentionally. Do not reveal patterns unnecessarily. Protect your internal rhythm. Protect your frame. Protect your position. Remember this. Every reaction you give builds a blueprint of who you are. Every visible thought, every instinctual movement, every burst of emotion is data. The less predictable, the less exploitable, the less observed, the stronger your position. The more automatic, The more reactive, the more unmeasured, the weaker your frame. And the weaker your frame, the more influence others have over your life. So what does remaining unmoved look like in practice? It looks like calm observation. It looks like clarity of thought under pressure. It looks like not over-explaining, not over-correcting, not over-giving. It looks like acting from alignment with values rather than responding to the dynamics imposed by observation. It looks like patience, clarity, and control, the exact qualities that cannot be studied for leverage. The moment you realize someone is studying you, act like a man who owns himself. Do not fear their gaze. Do not overcompensate for their attention. Let them gather data and find nothing exploitable. Let them watch and learn that your reactions are intentional, controlled, and sovereign. Let them see that no emotional display or behavioral nuance can shift your core. That is how power manifests silently but unmistakably. Before you leave, understand this. This channel is for men who refuse to be measured, manipulated, or controlled unconsciously. It is for men who want to master themselves, not the impression others have of them. If this message sharpened your awareness, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next lesson on sovereignty, frame, and mental mastery. Stay grounded, stay steady, and never forget, if she watches you react, she is studying you. How you respond determines whether she learns control or meets immovable power.